On the two maquettes you will have seen the crowning glory of our two horses. Now we can show you how they were crafted for our sculptures in a traditional manner.
These are the main pegs that we're making, and first of all we get some logs that are split up to approximately size, and then I'm using a froe, and this is for just trimming off all the excess wood, and then stick it in a breaking barb. Whoops, and then that should have got it off easy. It's quite hard work draw knifing the wood afterwards, so it's good to get off as much as possible with this froe. Okay, that should just about do it.
But when measured, it's still a bit too big, so Tom's son Jazz lends a hand.
We've decided to knock a bit more off it. Could I have the sharp one, Dad?
Is it not?
No, this one won't go in.
Jazz is not having much success, so it's Dad to the rescue.
Shall I whack?
Yeah, okay.
Shall I whack this one? Hang on.
Hold it up. Nice.
Yep. Done a quick swap. Makes quite a lot of difference if there's nuts and stuff in these. Knots in the wrong place. This is just the regular. The offcuts from doing the horse. Where it's been sawn like this a month or so ago, it does go a bit noticeably harder.
Until now, Tom has had few knotty problems, but this log is proving to be particularly stubborn.
I think that must be hitting a knot somewhere. About half of them have got sort of knots in the wrong place where you don't want them, or else they're a bit more dried out, so it's all a bit harder work than I thought it would be. This is a shaving horse, and the idea is that you can grip what you're working on quite easily with your foot pedal, and then you've got two free hands, and it's really quick to turn it over when you're to release the clamp and then turn over. It's not quite as dangerous as it looks, because although these are supposed to be very sharp, when you're holding something in two hands it's almost impossible to move all the way back to your chest, so it's always going to stop about here. So theoretically it's pretty safe. Most of the time I think most of the injuries with a draw knife are when you stop to talk to camera or something else and start waving this about, and before you know it you accidentally slice yourself by mistake. But when you're actually using it, it's so safe that it's kind of like kid stuff. And I just happen to have a couple of kids here who I think I better pass over to, because I need a tea break.
So Jazz, with his friend Sam, take over the job from Tom. You may be surprised to see the pegs being made using equipment from a bygone age. Tom explains more.
I think you'd call it bodging equipment, which is basically using hand tools to work with green wood. But a lot of was redesigned by Mike Abbott to take account of changing styles. Like this is a lumber horse version of a shaving horse which used to be made out of logs. And this is a kind of traditional style tent. It's actually really good because it gives you enough light to work by. It's good to see boys measuring. I think you've probably got enough off that side, Sam. I'd probably go for the other side now.
Yeah.
While Sam has a well-earned breather, Tom takes over at this lumber horse. But it isn't long before Sam is ready for more work with the throw. Living in our age of mechanisation, it is understandable we have become used to the relative ease of using our cutting and drilling equipment. Watching this ancient way of cutting wood is a reminder of just how much muscle power was then needed to shape it.
What we'll be doing is lathing about the bottom 5 or 6 centimetres, depending on the length of the wood, down to a diameter of about 2 inches. And then we'll be drilling a 2-inch hole into the neck of the horses so that they just slot in. And then presto, it'll be done.
Another peg is finished. When all 14 are made, they go to Phil's workshop, where he explains the next part of the process.
You will have seen Tom Cousins making these with a draw knife. Tom's illustrated that process, so we end up with this slightly, I quite like it, slightly rustic feel, which will blend and harmonise with the treatment for the rest of the horse. We mark the centre of each end of this flank there, and with a brad awl you just start off a slight hole, then you can get the centres of the lathe engaged in those, so we get that one in there. What I want to do first is to square off this end with a parting tool, as they're called. The rest is as close as we can get it without it hitting the revolving lathe. So that's the parting tool, that'll just give me a scribe. Or rather, yeah, we'll just square that end off first. Get it rolling. Pretty well square. So I just need now to measure the 50mm. Do a few marks, then when it's spinning that'll register as a dark line. Yeah, a few mil to go. Should do it. 50mm.
In a piece of spare wood, Phil has drilled a test hole.
He's a loose fit, so we can make that up with the glue.
Other items Phil is making with his lathe are plugs to go in the bolt holes.
You know, you'll see them all over the horse, the 14mm bolts that have gone through and the large washers. So that's just turned to be a tight fit. We'll hammer them in once we've finished tightening all the bolts at the very end of the day. It's done now, so we'll head off to Noxon.
The job is now to install the main peg into the neck of our second horse.
Well, I've drilled some holes already and it rained in the night, so this is to stop them filling up. Whoop. The drill isn't quite up to managing the 57 in one shot, hence the need to do him in 2 stages. Nearly there. Touch more. Yeah, he's struggling with that diameter. Well, at least we can just start him off just beyond the drill capacity. Get the smaller one. Whoa, this thing's shifting.
Phil has to take great care. He has to be sure to drill every hole precisely right for each peg. Careful measurement is essential.
I'm going to try the pegs in now. And there's a slight sway backward. I think that's worth doing.
He very carefully chips away pieces of neck around the edge of the hole, gradually shaping it so the shoulder of the main peg sits snugly into the neck. It is important to have a tight fit so rain cannot seep through the joint and down into the neck.
Still a bit proud. I think he's bottomed out a bit. Take a bit more out of the bottom of the hole.
Phil takes great care fitting these pegs, now using the plastic cover to rub off tiny loose slivers of wood. The final task is to glue the peg into position, and he does this using a special glue.
It's interesting stuff, Gorilla Glue it's called. It actually starts to react when it hits a moist surface, so it's ideal for working with green wood like this. What happens is it starts to foam as it cures, so it'll fill all the voids, any voids that are left within there, and he'll ooze out slightly all around the joint here. Then we just trim off. I coat the dowel, maybe a little bit in the here in the shoulder. Work him in, get the glue all over the faces. It'll take half an hour, maybe an hour to foam up and go off. So we'll move on to the next one. It's a tight fit. Don't knock him on too far, else we'll not get it out.
Once more, adjustments are necessary to make the peg fit snugly into its hole, and any loose fibres are removed. The glue is carefully applied once more.
Tight fit. Need to welly it a bit. Gosh,
Phil is unhappy with this fit, and has decided to pare away more of the neck.
bit better. Touch more maybe.
This is slow, painstaking work that cannot be hurried.
You can see the hydraulic force of the glue is making the peg bounce out. So we drive the air out. Shows us a good fit. Better.
With 2 pegs in position, we shall leave Phil to install the remaining 6. Please look again next month, so you keep up to date with events as we move closer to having our horses in Tewkesbury.